Good morning to a very breezy, day 118. A couple of people on site, which means everyone's been told to come back, which is good. Mr. Fields, right decision. Let's make sure we get a bloody plan now and make sure we stick to everything and get this moving. We've got 2 to 4 weeks to get these houses up. Sorry about the wind, try and block it. I don't think that's going to work. But what I want to try and do is quickly show you around. Sorry about the wind again. So Smithy's here, Hugh's here. Hugh's our timekeeper. It's a luxury really. Up on the slab. No keys?
I've got keys only for the container. I've got the proper island for Sunday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got keys for everything else because I've changed the locks because I did have keys, but I haven't got keys to the container. Got a key for that one. Yeah.
Everyone needs keys are useless then.
For now they are, but until he turns up with the keys, because I haven't got the keys to lock up or open up. Sorry about that. Do you need to open up anything, Smith? Those 2 gold keys there are the ones to your container. Your one and those 2 over there. Yeah, those 2. Right, so slab itself, Rayside are meant to be coming today to have a look at the brown marks, wood in all the actual concrete. So I'm not too sure what solution they're going to come up with that. I need to talk to them also about what we're going to do about some of the levels that aren't right, the pool area we talked about. And also polishing this to get it to a point where it's absolutely mint. I also need to chase the pool guys up today as well. One to finish off the pool, and then the guys doing the glass. So as you can see from the front, we're actually going to have an acrylic glass coming right up to make an ender's pool. So the glass itself is going to be embedded somehow along this first block, all the way around and all the way up. And it's obviously got to connect somehow into this piece here. It's got to come past. They've been asking for detail from the guys, but they're not been able to provide it. I think what they're doing is they're emailing a company abroad and waiting for that information. But as far as I'm aware, and you guys might be able to confirm, like a roof, if you're going to do an overhang on a roof, let's say you're going to do a 3-foot overhang, you're meant to have 2/3 of that measurement going backwards. So in that particular example, you'd have a 9-foot plank of wood, for argument's sake. 6 foot of that would be on the roof and 3-foot overhang. So any overhang has to be leveraged behind. It's exactly the same with this. If we're going to have, I don't know, let's say for argument's sake, we're going to have a 4-foot bit of glass here, then we're meant to have 12 foot, 8 foot in total, 8 foot going down, 4 foot coming up. That's the rule of thumb as far as I'm aware. So we've already laid, so that's not going to happen. So they don't do glass in triangular shapes, so it's not as if they'd be able to do a 90. And this piece, I'm trying to point at the right place, this piece here wouldn't actually hold the front. They're completely separate. So there'll be sides going in and there'll be a front. And they'll be glued like a silicone to keep them sealed, but they don't hold each other. So it's not as if you can put the 2 sides in and the front in and the sides hold the front. It doesn't work that way. So they'll be completely independent and separate. So that one will be holding weight going left. This one will be holding weight going right. And the front one will be holding weight going forward. So we're still waiting for the detail on how we're meant to, fit those bits of glass. And ideally, we need to know that 4, 5, 8 weeks ago before we built this. So anyway, I'm going to chase them today because we need that information. So I've got to chase those about the glass, stroke acrylic, whatever that's going to be called. Rayside, they're going to be meant to coming out and inspecting their workmanship, which, as we've discussed so far, has got quite a few teething problems we need to get rectified. Rectifying concrete, I don't understand how. Wayne, the supervisor, he should be here soon. His main job today that we talked about yesterday is setting out all the lines, so literally relining everything. I think if I remember rightly, the far side over here, this far side over here is like 1 to 9, and from the far side down this way is like A to H, I think it is. So he'll pull all the lines out to make sure we're right. We did the one over here last night, the main one, which I think I did show you last night. we did from the main corner of the house over here all the way over to the cottage corner, and it's 3 inches out. So there's one that's 3 inches out, and that's not too bad because it's not a main wall. So it's not as if you're going to see a 7-8 foot wall and it's going to be wonky. But again, it's not ideal. So we need to make sure that all the other lines are pulled. And again, anybody that does a job like this, the first thing you have to do in an ideal world is use an architect and an engineer, and they provide you with information about how the job should be made, put together. So you provide that information to the builder, and the builders should give you that information, should use that information to set out before they build. But for some unknown reason, and even in England, people don't tend to do it. So you then find that things aren't straight or in the wrong place, or as we've seen, rebar and windows and stuff like that. So it's a little bit frustrating, but I think with Paul today we'll know whether there's anything that's not as it should be, and we can try and rectify it. Cheers, mate. So yeah, at the moment I'm hopeful that we're going to be okay. I think the reason why this one here, the one I just mentioned, you're coming through the main foyer, and that wall there disappears left by 3 inches. I think the reason why that is because we had so much going on with the pool, we had to leave this open. So rather than waiting, we started on the rear cottage. We built that first, and then we did the pool, and then this got built third. I think because of that, it didn't help. We then had to line this with that. But again, if you pull the lines, it doesn't make any difference how you start and what goes first, second, third, fifth. Everything becomes straight if you pull lines. Same as here. You mark out, this is where a 6 foot window is going to go. There's the red mark there, look. It says clearly window now, and there's the line. But as you can see, there's now 3 bits of rebar that have got to be cut out. So if you pull the lines, you then set out everything, including where windows go, where doorways go. That then tells you where things, obstacle-wise, shouldn't be. Things like this, I had to do all of these. These should have been on the drawings. In the builder's defence, there wasn't a great deal of information about air conditioning on the drawing because I wanted a central system and they were going to be putting in ductless system. So, but again, once we knew what was going on, that should have been on the architect drawings, and then they should have been on the lines, mapped out, pinned in, and sorted. So anyway, today's about trying to remove things like all the formwork like this, remove formwork, this side piece down here. We need to get all this cleared out today, get the water gone, get all the wood away, anything rubbish get binned, rebar away. We've started spraying out on the mounds here where we're going to have to move to try and get the septic tank put in and the main drainage, so we can then level this off and try and get more mud on there to get it to level, and then we can start moving everything over there off and start also prepping the garage. So yeah, today is going to be quite a busy day if we get all the trades turning up. I can see a car with 4 masons. I can now see 1, 2, 3 labourers at least. So it's really today setting out, hoping the blocks arrive, tidying up, removing formwork, meeting with the concrete contractor to find out what the hell's gone wrong here and what we're going to do about rectifying that. Removing rebar and pipes that are in door frames and window frames that the block guys can carry on. Speaking to the pool guys. That's about it at the moment. Not bad for a client that's not meant to be site-based. So anyway, hopefully the morning will proceed swimmingly. We're now, 20 to 8. So may the day begin. A little bit of a follow-up for you, John. Thought I'd come in now, things are settled underneath the actual area where they put the jacks down onto the blinding. I'll show you what. Obviously we've got pours coming through very slightly everywhere, a few drips everywhere. This is going to be pours, so it's irrelevant. All the jacks I'm looking at, none of them are sunk at all. You can tell there's a lot of weight on them, that's for sure. I'm not seeing one so far that seems to have moved. So I did actually measure a few of them from top to bottom, just in case. I'm not actually seeing any that seem to have sank. So at the moment, that's good news. So it looks at the moment like everything is, they were right. It's a reasonably stable surface, even though it's a shed load of weight. makeshift ones. And on a bit of wood. Ooh. So yeah, all of them so far, he says. Let's look across here as well. Yeah, they all seem to be okay. Pour coming through there, what's that for? Oh, probably conduit that's been poured through for electrics. Yeah, it seems to be okay. So, they ignored what advice I was, and it's paid off. So, they're okay, which is good news. So, eventually what happened is here, all of the jacks have got to stay in apparently for a minimum 21 days, but they advised 28. So in 21 to 28 days we can start removing the jacks, and then in here will be poured with concrete. So yeah, the shame thing is at the moment I wanted to block this up. This is meant to be a blocked up room, but I can't block up at the moment until the jacks can be removed, which means obviously I can't then plaster and go through, and as a result I want to try and get the drainage done behind and get all of this mud put down, because we're meant to be, as you can see here, this is how high the actual mud is going to end up being. So it's quite a height that we need to pour to, and like obviously I can't backfill that until we actually have the wall up and the plaster in, and also the ceiling put onto the wall as well. So a bit of a pain in the backside really. All this water's here because obviously we've been wetting down the above. So I think what I will do today is try and get some of it pumped away. I think I'll get that one there blocked up anyway, even though the jacks are still in there. We can take those jacks, when we take those jacks down, we can take them through into the basement and up through the floor. So at least we can get one done, get that plastered, and then we'll have to just get that one done as and when we're able to. Yeah, there's nothing I can do unless I go and buy some jacks and concrete it all in as it is. Pain in the backside really, just one thing that's holding us up. But anyway, we do want this week some point to try and get an excavator in and get all of the drainage, septic tank, etc. done that I've been talking about. So over here is where the septic tank will go, 4,900 litres. Then we've got a run that comes straight up the hill here upwards, comes across here upwards, and then comes up here upwards. So it connects all of those, and then eventually through here somehow, I don't know whereabouts exactly it is, but through here there's actually a diagonal going through the house, and all the drainage and waste comes through the house as well as around the front and down the side. So that's a big job we've got to start, because that's quite important to get done now rather than leave it any longer. Other than that, we're going to get into the basement in a minute and get that swept out. Obviously concrete will have come through the formwork, so we need to make sure that none of that's stuck to the floor, which I think it has. So we'll see if we can get that spaded off. There's about an inch of sand in there, so that's all got to be, it's all wet because obviously the water's been going down, so we've got to get the water pumped out, we've got to get the sand wheelbarrowed out and let that dry. Yeah, that's pretty much what we've got to do. I think that's one of the goals. At the moment it's moving the cement mixer from here to the front of the building now. The stone's being delivered, sand's being delivered, and also the blocks are being delivered in a minute for upstairs. So we ideally need to get all of the logistics cleaned up and moved. So when that turns up, we're good to go, and then we're laying blocks, hopefully midday-ish. Then as soon as that's done, then we can focus on getting in here and getting this cleaned out, because it's mozzie heaven in there at the moment. So we do need to get that sorted. Other than that, it's just, again, the logistics have taken stuff away, and cracking on with the plan. Okay, so we're 4:45. Just going up the steps, starting laying some blocks today, as you can see. So spin you around, show what's happened. We pulled lines on everywhere and started off mapping that out. Obviously I showed you a little bit earlier on, some of the lines unfortunately are well off. As you can see, that's meant to be centre. Unfortunately that's more of a 3/4 half a foot at least to the left. So column in the background, as you can see, is centre of the building, and it goes all the way through, and it's meant to be centre of the block wall for the electrical cupboard, which might work out. So a lot of the lines are not too bad, but there's a few that are unfortunately not where they need to be. But at the beginning they thought we were doing 8-inch blocks inside. This wall would be 8-inch, so that has to be dead centre, which is lucky enough it is. But the inner walls are all going to be suspended walls, partition walls. So we've actually got, rather than 8-inch, we've got 5 to 6-inch. So it does give us a bit of room to play around. We've now moved the windows to avoid things like drain pipes, gutter pipes, electrical conduit, etc. and the guys have now started blocking in. I've just had to remove a couple of blocks because they've not allowed enough for the render and the space to obviously balance up. So there's one I've taken out, that little corner piece that was in there. It's just not enough. It's not left enough there. So as you can see, the render's going to be roughly an inch, or 3/4 of an inch, and that side. So then you also need to leave at least half an inch, quarter either side, for the window to be balanced up, shimmied in and fitted. That one's not too bad. As you can see, the line is actually here. So there's a good inch and a bit there, and the same on that side. So we should be okay with that one. Again, we've had to remove it on that one as well. There's conduit that's got to be chopped out or moved, and also there's rebar which has been cut off now, but it has to be taken down 2-3 inches minimum. So we're gonna have to work out how to do that tomorrow. This window's not too bad. He's left quite a big gap there either side, so that one should be fine. But again, we've got this. I think this pipe here is actually to carry the cabling, the power cabling for the solar upstairs, as I think this is actually the solar water. So again, we need it, but it might have to move or bite the dust. Again, that one's not too bad. As you can see, he's left about an inch and a bit either side. Again, we do need an inch and a quarter, or at least an inch. But obviously the windows need to go in, they need to be plumbed, and as a result they need to be able to go left or right. So there's got to be... we've pulled lines everywhere else. This one is looking reasonably okay through the middle of the building. But we have worked out that the actual pillar going through the middle of the building now, as I said earlier on, the column is twisted, and that's big rebar, so I don't know how they're going to twist that, but apparently the rebar guys are coming here tomorrow. So other than that, a slow start, but hey, at least we've started. So one row of blocks at the front so far, but again, the blocks didn't turn up and the guys didn't start till around about 1:30, maybe a bit after that. So hopefully tomorrow we can smash this up, but I need to be here to make sure that they look at the detail before they lay. The other thing we have to do is, we have asked them to make sure they put sand down and then plyboard. This is meant to be a polished, finished floor, so if they're going to start stamping cement and block and shit into it, then obviously it's going to get marks and scratches. So I need to talk to them about that, because that at the moment, as you can see, is already a mess. It's not too bad up here, it's mainly sand, but down there they've obviously had to break some blocks, and there's just grit everywhere, so they're just going to start standing that straight into the floor. The other thing we did as well, there was quite a bit of sand laid down to try and protect the floor from the cement. So today we swept out as much as we physically could to and try to pump out as much of the water as we can to get it to breathe and dry out, because it's been underwater for quite some time now. So tomorrow we need to get down there and really scrape up all the excess concrete that's come from the floor, and have a bloody good sweep out in there and try and get it to dry out, because as soon as these blocks go up and the roof goes on, air and sun is not going to get down there. So we need to try and get that dried out sooner rather than later. Other than that, we could be back on track. Only time will tell. So I'm going to get him to actually, all these lines we pulled, rather than undoing them, I want to try and make sure we ping them or mark them, so that when we take them off we know exactly what we're doing, and then we can crack on tomorrow. But it is obviously I'm going to have to be here, otherwise we're going to keep on missing stuff and blocking stuff in. So I'm the detail man, I suppose. So that's my job, to be here tomorrow, so that's what I intend to do. So anyway, that is the end to, I think it's 118, isn't it? I haven't got a clue even what month it is, let alone day it is. Anyway, see you tomorrow.